This is music, and this is the Crawling Chaos.
Like bloated maggots they crawl. Crawl as if to a dying god. Black of mask and black of cloak. Carrying crows of bloody joke.
Welcome to the third episode of Off With Your Head. This is a mini-series, and it focuses on the metal band Axemaster. And basically what I do is I talk about the Axemaster releases I have in my collection, and I break them down track by track. So these are longer and more in-depth videos. In the previous video, we talked about their second studio album, this one right here. This is Overture to Madness. In this video, we will be talking about their third studio album, Crawling Chaos from 2017. And their fourth studio album is Of Beasts and Plagues, and it's on the way. It's in the making. And actually, you heard a snippet from that album in the introduction to this very video. It's from a track called A Murder of Crows. And like I said, the whole album is called Of Beasts and Plagues. And as you could hear, you got something to look forward to because the upcoming album is great. I will say a little bit more about the upcoming album a little bit later on in this video. For now, let's talk about Crawling Chaos. And first of all, the cover artwork is really cool. You have this massive kaiju-like monster terrorizing a city. And to me, that kaiju monster looks very Cthulhu. Actually, it looks straight up like Cthulhu. And Crawling Chaos is also a Lovecraftian phrase. So you obviously have like Lovecraftian vibes to this album. And I would say Cthulhu, Lovecraft, metal, it's a perfect match, isn't it? So I will go through the album track by track. And if I look down like this, which I will do, full disclosure, that's because I'm checking my notes. Let's start with the first track. It's called 10,000 Pound Hammer. It's super groovy. It's mid-paced as well. It has a cool, straightforward chorus. It's basically 10,000 pound hammer. And it's super fun to sing along to. Believe you me, I know this from experience because I can't help but sing along to it whenever I listen to this song. Now, on Overture to Madness, you had like doom metal elements all over the place. You have some doomy elements in this track as well, 10,000 Pound Hammer. You also have a very groovy riff that has a super cool guitar solo, which is, it leans more to the tasty melodic side of things, but it verges on chaos. Crawling Chaos, maybe? It's just a banger and a head bopper of a song. The vocals singing style is Jeff McGraw's like trademark rough but melodic kind of groove metal-esque style, and I really like it. And you actually did hear you did get a taste of his singing style in the introduction to this video, and as you can hear, he's a great singer. The second track is the title track, so that's Crawling Chaos. It starts out with a groovy bass riff and drum beat, which has some quite unsettling guitar riffage on top. And this guitar riffage is a little bit reminiscent of what you would hear on Overture to Madness. So that's a nice reference back to the previous album, which I appreciate. I think that's really cool. The song revolves around a bass figure that has, I would say, like maybe some pinchy guitar figures on top of it, especially in the verses. And this is one of these songs that get increasingly intense as they evolve. And intensity is the key word when it comes to Axemaster. So Towards the end, there are some suitably dissonant uh, guitar harmonies, so that just fits this song perfectly. So it's a cool song, but it's also a quite unsettling song, and that goes perfectly with the whole Lovecraftian vibe, doesn't it? Uh, the singing style, again, it's Jeff McGraw's trademark, gruff but melodic singing style, but he does hit a couple of really high notes, showing that he has range as well. The third track is Axes of Evil. This is also a mid-tempo song, but it just sounds super heavy. You got church bell effects. You got some unsettling lead guitar figures as well. Um, the song has a nice chuggy vibe to it because some of the guitar riffs are quite chuggy, I would say, and that means it has a nice solid drive. And one thing that's really interesting is that this particular song has some, I would say, kind of 90s traditional heavy metal elements to it, or at least a 90s traditional heavy metal vibe or feel to it. And I think that's really cool because back in the 90s, traditional heavy metal wasn't really popular, but there was actually some really, really good traditional heavy metal in the 90s. It was just obscured by all the alternative metal and the extreme metal and so on and so forth. I just think it's really cool. I really appreciate that they have that injected into this song. There is, pardon my French, a fucking awesome breakdown in the bridge, and you have some more cool solo work that is just on the brink of chaotic madness. Um, the vocals, again, Jeff McGraw's trademark singing style. He's a very consistent vocalist. His singing style does the service of this individual songs. So that's obviously the sign of a very professional singer. So on this track, he leans more into the more gruffy side of things. And now it is story time with Joe Sims, who will give us some behind the scenes insight into the making of the song Axis of Evil, but also some insight into his creative process. Take it away, Joe.
Now we're going with something off the Crawling Chaos album from 2017. This is about the song Axis of Evil. Now, I've had recording capabilities since like 2006. I record ideas, demos, plus, and of course, albums. And so one time I had a template up and I had put these different ideas up on this template. Just random things that I'd written, warming up, and different things like that. Well, that descending chromatic thing that goes toward the very beginning of the song, I had that up on a track, and then I had what became the chorus riff for Axis of Evil on that same template. They weren't meant to go together. And just by accident, I soloed up both of those tracks, and somehow, some way, without a metronome or nothing, the timing and the speed of those linked up perfectly. It's like the greatest happy mistake. I ended up writing the part by mistake, combining two things that weren't even supposed to be combined together.
How about that? Straight from Joe Sims. Doesn't get better than this, does it? Anyway, the next track is called Flowers for the Dead. This is also kind of a doomy song, but it's also kind of ballady, I would say. Uh, it's a little bit more dialed back, and it's a little bit more melodic, but you do have some bursts every now and then, some more up-tempo parts, I will say. And this contrast between the dialed back and melodic, and then the more up-tempo, works really well. On Overture to Madness, you had a lot of those like contrasts. And it's nice that there's some references back to the previous album. You got some excellent guitar solo works here. And this is a track with lots of changes and twists and turns, and it's a song that's genuinely interesting. I will say it's a good song. It's a great song actually, but it's also a very interesting listen. Um, in this song, Jeff McGraw sings in a higher register. It's still mid-range, but it's the higher end of the mid-range, if you know what I mean. And he also uses more vibrato in this song, which goes well with the melodic and ballady feel it has. It's followed by a track called Mystify the Dream Hypnotic, which is just a dark, demented, guitar based instrumental interlude. And it's another kind of unsettling track. And again, this unsettling, demented feel that actually suits the Lovecraftian vibe very well. So I think that's actually awesome. It's followed by a song called Aldar Rof, and I just had to double check. Yeah, it's a slow track. Well, still mid-paced, but the slower end of the mid-pace, if you know what I mean. And it has a galloping drive to it, so it's a slow galloping track. It's just a super solid song. It almost has a progressive sounding bridge, I would say. You got some spoken word on top of it, and then it just suddenly changes into a faster tempo. You got the solo guitar work, you got double bass drum action. It's a solid, solid track, and I like how it's has that galloping vibe to it. The vocals are a little bit more theatrical uh, on this track. And again, the vocals, the theatricality this time, they all fit the vibe of the whole song. The next song is called Shallow Grave. Uh, this one starts out ballady, but then it changes to just a crunchy, riff driven, heavy track. And you got some really tasty and interesting, again, lead guitar work. And you got some slightly thrashy bursts towards the end of the track. So here, Axemaster, they lean a little bit into the thrashy side of things, and it's just an excellent track. I really like how they just kick in some thrash towards the end. Um, this one is also in a higher register, still mid range, but the higher end of mid range. And this one also has some vibrato to it. And again, it's a singing style that matches the song. Again, super professional approach by Jeff McGraw there. The next track is called Death Before Dishonor. And I do believe this is an older track because there is a demo tape by Axemaster from the 90s called Death Before Dishonor. I believe it's from the 90s. What I do know is I'm on the lookout to pick up a copy of that tape. If I find one, I'll snatch it. Anyways, uh, so I think it's an older track because there is a tape from the 90s called Death Before Dishonor. Um, and I think this might be a re-recording of the title track from Death Before Dishonor, um, which is cool if that's the case. Now, this is another mid-tempo track with just a nice solid drive to it and some awesome chuggy riffage as well. And again, you got some great lead guitar work on it, and it's just a kick-ass song. And on this one as well, Jeff McGraw uses more vibrato, and again, it actually serves this song very well. Professional singer. It's followed by a track called Bravado, which is a bit of a mid-tempo thrash metal song to my ears. So I don't know, think stuff like Melia Rage, perhaps. And so it's a thrashy song, and I'm an old thrash head, so I'm an instant fan of this song, obviously. But it has a more of a rock and rolly guitar solo, which I like on top of all the thrash stuff. Again, mid tempo thrash. Um, Super solid heavy metal song, and I like the overtly thrashy drumming that you hear towards the end. Uh, and again, the singing style consistent, but with again some vibrato here as well. And the final track is called Night of Cain. Night, as in the Monty Python Knights of the Round Table. Night with a K. Anyways, this has a really, really cool main riff. You also have some pinch harmonies in this main riff. And this one also leans towards the overture to madness, if you know what I mean. Uh, and this is it's kind of a demented sounding track again. When we talk metal, demented is a positive adjective, and it's just a great way to conclude a really awesome, very consistent, and very solid metal album. Um, this is a very heavy and intense album, intensity being the keyword when we talk Axemaster, but it kind of leans more towards the groove than intensity. So it's a very groovy album, and I like groove in my metal, so I think that's great. It has a quite organic sounding production to it, with a lot of room for the drums and for the vocals and for the bass. Um, but there's always like a feel of being just on the brink of chaos, especially in the guitar solos. And this is what Joe Sims is so good at. Um, Playing obviously controlled guitar solos, but they always sound like they're on the brink of descending into chaos. And he has a very broad range or a broad palette of guitar solo styles, ranging from melodic, tasty, catchy, to blistering, shreddy stuff to this chaotic style. Um, and it all fits the music very, very well. Um, you have a lot of changes and twists and turns in a lot of the songs here. So actually, there are a lot of surprises on this album. Uh, the guitar tone is quite heavy, but it's not as punchy as on Overture to Madness. But the heaviness of the guitar tone does suit this more groovy approach that they have on this album. Uh, the bass is nicely audible, and the bass also adds to this kind of groovy feel. Um, the drumming is solid, and it's somewhat technical on this album. Um, so less dynamic, but more technical, and it seems like there was a lot of thought put into the drumming here. And again, that means that the drumming is very solid, and it also, I would say, kind of services the all the twists and turns very well with a little bit uh, of technicality to the drumming. So I actually think the drumming is really cool. Um, Jeff McGraw's vocals are, um, I mean, they're consistent, but I also think there's a little bit more diversity to his singing style on here than on Overture to Madness. And his singing style was already great on Overture to Madness. Um, there's also a little bit more technicality to the singing style here. He does some more technical or uses more singing techniques, I would say. That's what it sounds like, at least. Um, and while I really, really like the vocals on Overture to Madness, I like them even better on Crawling Chaos. And I can tell you, they're even better on the upcoming album of Beasts and Plagues. So great professional singer. So overall, this is a great album with lots of riffs, lots of groove, chaos lurking beneath the surface, breaking out every now and then. It's truly crawling chaos, actually. Great album. If you like your traditional heavy metal, dark, demented, unsettling, intense, with elements of doom and thrash and a lot of groove. I like all of those things in my metal. This is definitely worth checking out. So this is the third studio album, Crawling Chaos, another awesome album by the veterans that are Axemaster. Like I said, they have their fourth studio album on the way. It's going to be called Of Beasts and Plagues. I'm actually lucky enough that I have had the opportunity to listen to the entire upcoming album, and it's great. And I will say, if you like Overture to Madness and if you like Crawling Chaos, I think you're gonna love the upcoming album. It's awesome. It's an Axemaster album. There's no doubt about that. It's great. And there will be a fundraiser coming out from the label. I don't know exactly what the nature of the fundraiser will be, but it's an opportunity for the fans to support the artist directly. And I will definitely pitch in, and I'll keep you updated. I'll let you know when I have more news about the fundraiser. For now, though, thanks for watching.
Soul is crushing power, feeding hearts unseen. Ears to grind, teeth that feed, tearing at the meat, pulling deep within the law, chewing through my spine, belching